Hello, welcome to Model Kit Stuff. My name is Jason and today we're looking at adhesive, and this effectively is my essential guide to the best adhesives and why. Yes, hello, welcome everybody. Today we're talking glue, and in front of you you've got my favourite glues, and I'm going to take you through all the different adhesives I use and why I use these particular products over others. It's a complete minefield adhesive these days. There's so many brands and I've tried lots of them, not all of them. So we're going to take you through what I think are the essentials. So if you're new to the hobby, you've got an understanding of what you might need, where you're going to want to use it, and which products work well. These are all tried and tested products that I use over and over again. And so for me, these are the best products on the market. Let's get going. The start point for most people as a general all-purpose plastic modelling glue is a liquid poly cement. And there's a number of different brands. I've tried many of them, not all of them. But this is the one that I've settled on as being the best option on the market in my mind, and that's for a combination of reasons. So if we think about the adhesive has the ability to bond more than just styrene, which other brands primarily that's what they're aimed at doing. Not only so this can do things like ABS and what have you, so you don't need to have a separate glue for different plastics. This one will do everything that you'll need, and that can be important because some model manufacturers put different plastics in their kits. So Tacom quite often do it, Tamiya do it regularly as well, but other brands such as Trumpeter have even done it as well on certain kits. So having a good all-rounder is a big positive. The other positive about the Plastic Magic product is the way it comes. So you get a 40ml bottle, which is the same size as the Tamiya one and larger than the Humbrol one, which is only 28 millilitres. But you have a large applicator brush. If I undo this, so you can apply glue in large areas, and the bristles are longer than both Tamiya and Humbrol as examples. But you also get this separate fine brush, which is thinner and also a lot longer. So you're not going to struggle to get into the corners of the bottle as the glue goes down, whereas with others you're sort of trying to shake it to get the brush wet. And the Tamiya one has an extender on the brush, but it's difficult to work and you can damage the bristles in the process. It's not perfect. So at the end of the day, you've got a combination of a really superior adhesive and great packaging. So it just works for me. So yeah, in terms of viscosity, it's certainly on par with the extra thin. So yeah, it's a direct match, but gives you a broader amount of ability to glue bits and pieces together, which is ultimately what you're looking for. So for me, Deluxe Materials Plastic Magic is the one that I prefer, and if people ask me, that's the one that I generally would recommend. Generally, you'll also want a thicker viscosity liquid poly cement for doing bigger jobs or jobs that are more structurally demanding, so you need a good strong joint. And here again, there is a huge variety, and I've tried many, but not all, and they all sort of have pluses and minuses, and this one, for example, it's a perfectly good glue, but you've got to put an applicator on and then you've got to clean the applicator, so it's not convenient, so I tend to not use it. These, again, there's not much between them, to be honest. And this is a very widely used glue, and the adhesive itself is very, very good, but it has the same problem as this. They both have the same problem, that the needle tends to clog, and you get build-up of glue on the end, you get build-up of glue in the cap, and there is also quite a common tendency for the packaging to break on this, and then you've got risk of losing glue rather than using it all. So having tried many different ones, the one I end up going to is this one, Precision Plastic Glue. Again, it's another Deluxe Materials product, and it works in the same way. The glue is just as good as the Revell Contactor Professional, which is widely used, but I've never had the needle clog, and it doesn't have a cap. There's no particular difference. In fact, the angle of the needle is not quite as sharp as the Revell one, so I thought I was going to have more problems with it. But this has never clogged once. You don't put a cap on it. This is a year old, and as you can see, I've not had evaporation. It's not all gone hard in there. So how it works, I don't know. But what happens is it comes with the needle separate in there. You take the needle out, plop it in, and job's done. And I've been using this for a year now, and it's still very usable. I've had no issues with it. Also, the smell from this is a lot less strong than from this. So this, I mean, it even says on here, low odor. So it has all the usefulness of this, but doesn't smell as strong. You don't get the clogging. So I tend to use this one. Now, the glues that we've looked at so far are hot glues, which means that to some greater or lesser degree, they're going to be melting the plastic. But you have a need for non-gassing glues as well, which means that they're not going to fog up clear parts like headlamps, aircraft canopies, and so on. So there's lots of different glues out there. There's glues that do that amongst other things. You can use standard PVA glue. You can get designated canopy glue, which is basically PVA glue. They all have different issues. And the problem with the PVA type glues is they don't actually really form a strong bond, and many of them don't dry crystal clear. This one claims to, but absolutely doesn't. It has a yellow hue to it, and they're not very strong, so you can knock parts off still. So over the years, I've come to settle on using this GS Hypo cement. It's non-gassing, it doesn't fog up, it comes with a handy needle to keep the applicator unblocked. The only slight downside to this is it can get stringy, particularly if you've had it for a while. It's worth refreshing it every couple of years. But this gives you a much stronger bond. It dries absolutely crystal clear, and it's the glue that's used by jewelers to fix watch cases and that sort of thing. So it's a strong purpose glue for clear parts. I know other modelers that use it as well, and it came to me as a recommendation from someone who's quite a professional modeler, and this has always worked for me. So GS Hypo is my glue of choice for clear parts. Depending on your modelling genre, there is often a need for cyanoacrylate or CA or super glue. This comes in all sorts of different forms, and I've tried loads and loads of different brands, from the pound shop cheap as you can get type, all the way up to very expensive specific branded CA glues. And what I'm going to share with you is the ones that I have settled on and why. So I have a need for 3 different types of CA glues in the main. There are others I use, and I'll talk about those in a moment, but these are the main 3 that I think most modelers should have on hand. So a medium CA, this one dries in 5 to 10 seconds, tends to be closer to the 5 than the 10, and then just like a lot of CA glues, that curing time tends to extend as the glue gets older. So the more it's exposed to air, the longer the curing time gets. But the reason I particularly like the Deluxe Materials Rocket Rapid is because I've never had a problem with the top gluing up, so I've never had to recap it. And this is my 3rd bottle of this now, and the reason why it's the 3rd time I've bought it is because every other glue I've tried, I've ended up with either the glue going off and it's setting, or the cap getting so blocked that you can't get it out, and you end up not using it all. This is my 3rd bottle, and the previous 2 I used all of it up and the bottle was still usable and I didn't lose any of it. So it ends up being really good value for money, because you know that all of that 20 grams of glue is going to get used. It's a really nice medium CA, and I use it, probably the most widely used CA glue for me. I use it on most jobs. There is sometimes a need for thin glue, and I particularly like this one from Zap. So this is their thin CA, and the reason why I like it is exactly the same reason. I've never had a problem, this is my 2nd bottle of this, with the cap becoming unusable. So it's never dried up in the bottle. It's really easy to use, and also the working time with this is really good. So the bonding time is quick, but I can decant some into a little milk bottle top or something like that, and it will stay wet for 1 to 2 hours while I'm working with it, only curing when it's mating 2 parts together. So I like the extended working time with this. I've had this bottle for a couple of years now, and you can see there's plenty left. So I don't use it a lot, but when I do use it, I know this is going to work. So this is my thin CA of choice, and it comes with a little applicator, although I very rarely use the applicator. I have done, it has been used, and it's still usable. And then finally, I like to have a thick gel. You can use this for all sorts of things. I use it quite a lot for wood. You'll see me use it on my wooden ship builds, use it on dioramas, but it's also handy for things like ship's railings and things where you want a slightly slower curing time, and where you might want to be doing a little bit of gap filling at the same time. So my preferred one, and again I've used several, and I used to use the Zap gel, which is very good, but this one, again, I've not had problems with it setting in the tube or the cap becoming unusable and throwing half of it away. So you can get it in 2 sizes actually. The most common one is this larger 20 mils, but you can get a half size one. It's not as easy to find, certainly in the UK. Again, this is Rocket Cyano, so it's another Deluxe Materials, and it doesn't run, so where you put it is where it stays, which is one of its advantages. And again, you can put that on a milk bottle top or something like that and work with that for you know, up to half an hour before you start to find it's going off. So it's really a great product. I've worked with this for a few years now, and I wouldn't really think about going elsewhere for a glue gel. So those are my 3 principal CAs. I do have others. This is a flexi one, but its use is fairly limited. People like the fact that it's black and that you can see it. Yeah, it's a small thing, but I use it not very often. The flexi, it can be handy if you're putting load on a photo etch part, so it's less brittle than CAs. CAs tend to be quite brittle and you can break them under stress, whereas this has got a little bit more resilience. I use it occasionally, but it's very, very occasionally. So yeah, and this is a slow action one. There's also a standard drying time. So I have a number of different CAs, but these are the essentials. And if you're going to be using CA glue in your modelling, it's always worth having a bit of glue buster to hand. So it dissolves super glue, releases bonded skin, and it's always good to have that close to hand because you just never know. Now, some people might be surprised that I'm sharing a tube poly cement as an essential glue, but for me it absolutely is. Now, the brand is less important here. This is a Humbrol one. You sometimes pick these up in kits as a freebie in the kit, and what I say is I generally tend to keep them if I get a tube glue like that. I use them for big structural gluing jobs, like putting spars inside a hull that's going to be holding all the weight of the superstructure and deck on top of it. I quite like these because you can really splurge it on. It's nice and thick. It's fairly slow drying, so you can work with it. Putting hull halves together, it's great for that because you can put plenty on, sandwich it together, it welds it all in, and it's quite easy to sand off afterwards. So I quite like having a tube glue around. They're great for all sorts of jobs, gluing buildings together for dioramas, that sort of stuff. So yeah, and because it's solvent based, it's like the earlier liquid polys. It's a hot glue and it does melt the plastic a little bit. Some people don't like it because of the slow drying time, but actually it's a really cost-effective way of doing big jobs like hull halves, where thinner liquid polys will tend to dry out. This won't. So it's always worth having one of these on hand. With the increasing number of multimedia kits on the market, so kits that are using resin and plastic and brass wire and photo etch and copper wire, there is an increasing need to have an epoxy glue to hand. So whilst CA will get you through a lot of jobs, some bigger jobs, like maybe putting large areas of photo etch down on a deck or something like that, you might want to consider an epoxy. Now, I wouldn't recommend going out and buying this on the off chance that you might need it. Buy it when you need it. I've used 2 or 3 different brands over the years, and I keep coming back to this one. Again, it's Deluxe Materials, it's Speed Epoxy 2, it's strong, it has a good working time, you can manipulate the parts before it dries, it sets perfectly clear, which is really handy. A lot of 2-part epoxies, they end up being sort of yellowish in colour, but this isn't. It's perfectly glass clear, and you can even use it on dioramas for things like puddles and streams and bits like that. That's how clear it is. So this is it. It's 2 parts. You've got a hardener and an adhesive, and you mix the 2 together. Yeah, and I've used these a few times now. This is my second pack, and it's the first time I've bought an epoxy glue and gone back to the same brand. So I really liked working with it last time. I don't use it a lot. I only use it occasionally. I might not have even used it on the channel. That's how occasionally. But yeah, it gives you a 20-minute drying time. So yeah, really good. There's a whole list of things it'll do. So from white metal, card, wood, so all sorts of different bits, including styrene. So yeah, this is my go-to for two-part epoxies. Now then, if you have a need for bonding wood, maybe for dioramas, or if, like me, you build wooden model ships, then my go-to wood glue is Aliphatic resin. Again, this is a Deluxe Materials product. I've used a number of wood glues over the years, and this one has some advantages over the other, which is why it's become my favourite and my wood glue of choice. Firstly, it tends to be stronger. The bond will be stronger than the wood that you're putting together. It's waterproof when it's dry, so it's great if you're doing things like radio controlled wooden hulled vessels. You can thin it down with water and apply it more thinly and turn it into a tanking coat. It's sandable when finished, so you can even use it for gap filling if you're going to be painting it afterwards. Its drying time is fairly quick. It dries not clear but with a slight yellow hue to it. But it's really strong, and one of the advantages is it is one of the best glues I've come across. It's the best glue I've come across actually for bonding hardwoods, and that's really important. Whereas a lot of wood glues perform really well on things like balsa or softer woods, some of the hardwoods that you come across in ship kits particularly, you need a stronger penetrating glue, and this absolutely does the job. And if you need to apply it with a little bit of precision, you can consider putting it in a syringe. It's washed out with water afterwards, so really easy to clean. So there you go. If you need to bond wood, that is my glue of choice. So there you go, that is my selection of essential glues for the modelling hobby. These are the ones that I constantly use, my preferred ones. Everything else that I've got are leftovers that I'm using up, or I use very occasionally for specific tasks. These ones are the ones that you will generally need to keep coming back to and use often. So yeah, these are my adhesives of choice. So I hope that was helpful and useful, especially if you're new to the hobby. And we will be doing some more stuff looking at adhesives in the future. We have some new products to try. So until the next time, you enjoy your modelling, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so. It's free, and if you'd like to support the channel, you can hit my PayPal link in the text below. Every pound goes straight into the channel to keep the cameras rolling and to do more fun stuff for you to watch.